What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. And today we are breaking down the matchup yesterday. I wasn't planning on making a video about it, but the matchup was so crazy that I had to break it down for you guys. So let's get into it right here, right now. Of course, I didn't watch the start of the game, but it was a blowout to start out. So I was thinking, man, this game would be wraps. But anyways, I tuned in to start the third quarter. Probably would turn it off after that. It was going to be a blowout. But anyways, the Knicks were coming back, and they just made a little lead. They were down by about, I would say they were about down by 15, if I could remember. But they were down by 15 anyways. So I was like, it's still going to be over, not as big of a blowout as I thought. So I was like, maybe I'll just take a little more. And then all of a sudden, they're cutting down the lead. They're hitting their shots. The Spurs can't make it by a bucket. They couldn't make a single one. They were just hitting some free throws. And then the end of the game, that's one of the best endings of a sports game that I've watched. It was so crazy, buzzer beater, the dumb plays at the end. But, man, that was crazy. Just to watch it was just a crazy experience. So I just imagine how much more crazier it would have been for the people that actually, played in it. That was just crazy to watch it. I think I'll remember this game, forever. I'm never going to not remember this game. It was so crazy. So crazy. The media reactions, of course, crazy. Everybody commenting, everybody having their own story to share about why the Spurs lost. And now that's the big question. Because if you get blown out in a game, it's like you were just worse. But for the Spurs, it's like you had the lead. It's like you just lost flat out. Or you lost by 10 or 15 where you were just not having your night. No, you were up 29 or 30 or 32 or whatever, and you still managed to lose. So that sucks for them. I don't know, I would feel mentally defeated. So that's what I'm saying now. Their chances to win the series now, just thinking about it, they just came off one of the worst losses ever. The worst loss ever, you could say. They were up 29, the momentum, and, they just made some boneheaded, straight-up dumb plays at the end of the game. Anyway, speaking of De'Aaron Fox, he's getting flamed right now on the internet because he had this play basically where he should have just dribbled the ball out, but instead he shoots it, gets absolutely blocked by OG Anunoby. Shout out to him. He went crazy. Game winner, knocking down every three, shooting over Wemby. Just had the confidence to do everything on the floor. Anyways, he was amazing. But speaking of that block, De'Aaron, what he should have done is just ran out the clock and, got fouled, hit his free throws. And if he hit his free throws, the game would have likely been over. I'm not saying it would have been over 100%, but they would have had a really, really good chance to close out the game. But anything can happen, so I'm not saying it's they would have for sure won the game, but they would have put themselves in position to win the game instead of letting a tip-in decide your whole game. They would likely have been up 3, and then the game, yeah, it's pretty much over unless they hit a crazy 3. And now let's talk about the other side, the Knicks, that crazy, crazy game winner. You have got to be there to see it. I can't even explain it. You got to watch it, and watching it in real time. That's where I'm not even a fan of either team, but I was just hyped as heck. I was even crazy excited. Not suspense. I was having major suspense, and I'm not even a fan of either team. So I'd play, bro. So Jalen Brunson, of course, deepest three that I think I've seen. I was not expecting that deep at 3. I thought he was gonna foul bait or something, but of course he got the double, so he shot it. And then OG Anunoby comes out of nowhere, huge jump, one of the biggest jumps in New York history. Goes up, tips it in, and lets the Knicks win the game. Though there was one final possession, but Spurs just could not get anything going. They were just flat out. I think they were just already defeated. The fact that it had to come down to all that, where you have to hit a game winner to win when you were in a position to potentially even bench your players for the second half, is just complete disappointing. And I don't know how it's just going to affect them going into these next games, because we've seen it affect teams where they're just mentally now defeated. Of course, the series isn't over. Anything can happen. Anything is possible. I'm not saying Knicks are champions now because everybody's acting like that, but it still is a lot of games to play, a lot of minutes of basketball to be played. There's still so much more to play But I feels like the city of New York is celebrating. Who knows? They might be celebrating too early. They're celebrating like they've already won the whole thing. And really, that comeback should be enough to, I think, lead them to a win. But the sad part of this whole thing, the whole sad part of San Antonio is the better team. They're the better team. They just cannot close out the games. And that's been their issue for this whole series. They have leads, they just choke, and they can't close out. We saw game 1, game 2, I was talking about it. They can't close it out. That's just been the issue for them. They are not able to close out the games. And I think their lack of experience with all their young guys, but they're going to have many opportunities, but their lack of experience. And talk about Wemby. Does he deserve some of the blame? Let me know, because I think he does, because this is a team effort. Of course, De'Aaron Fox did a fair share of dumb moves, but Victor Wembanyama, when you're the team's best player and when you're the team's superstar or best player in the world, like a bunch of people are calling him, you can't let that happen. You know, he was breaking a lot of shots, gassed, missed free throws down the stretch. Of course, you can't control that. De'Aaron's was just like straight up like, you can't control that, just dumb move. Of course, he was trying his hardest, so you got to give that to him. But when you're held to that standard, you can't just like, if it was any other superstar, I think they'd be getting flamed as much as De'Aaron. But because 29 points is just unacceptable for any team, anything. That's, even it's a regular season game, that's just straight horrible. And Knicks are amazing. You got to give it to them. They may not have the most talented guys, but they have guys that are going to fight. They're all guys that step up. Like OG Anunoby, who stepped it up today. Huge. I mean, awesome. How much can we say? Of course, Brunson is their best player, but like OG Anunoby is getting all the credit because he had a game winner, because he was knocking down shots in the clutch. Of course, you have to give Brunson the props. He's the one that led the comeback with those tough buckets, double teams fighting over all of them. Tough buckets. But OG Anunoby, if you hit the game winner, you're going to get the most credit. That's what it comes down to, game winners. We saw last year with Tyrese Halliburton to OG Anunoby. Crazy game. I can't even, I would have an hour video if I could go as long as I can about just how crazy this game was. It's so crazy. It's more like those you have to watch it to witness type games, because it's just crazy. Anyways, man, that game was just, oh my gosh. It happened like a whole 24 hours ago, and I'm still I can't even believe it. It's just crazy, how that game went down, the late things, and just how the Spurs choked that is just crazy to me. And so, yeah, I mean, we'll see what the Spurs can do now. I don't know how they're feeling and, how they're doing after this. Of course, that's part of the sport. You have to learn to bounce back. But bouncing back after this for anybody is tough. This is real tough. It is. It's not easy to bounce back and be like, we got this. They were in a position where I thought, Spurs are winning it. The greatest comeback, 2-0 to 4-2 or 4-3 or whatever. Yeah, and now, I think their chances feel defeated. Of course, 3-1, it's not over till it's over. Teams have done this before, so I'm not saying it's impossible. We'll see what Victor Wembanyama can do or what the Knicks got up their back. I think they wouldn't prefer to lose this game, but it would be better for New York if they won the game at their home, because that's the whole arena, which is absolutely crazy. They have some of the best, most committed fans in the world. Their fans are going crazy right now. Crazy, literally. Not just jumping crazy, literally crazy. Hitting others, getting into fights. You gotta go check that out on Instagram, because they are going crazy. Literally beating people up. So yeah, and getting themselves arrested. Don't do that. But yeah, they're going crazy. But anyways, that game was amazing. There's so much more I could say. Like I said, anyways, like and subscribe. And we'll see you wins the NBA championship. But comment down below if you think the Spurs have a chance, or if you think it's really just Knicks in 5 or Knicks in 6. I'll see you. Peace.